Hello, everybody. Time for some more Sound Booth Theater Live. The Conduit, Dragon's Trail. Actually, Dragon's Trail was my choice. The Conduit, and then the Savant lands. We got a lot of good shit coming up. But gonna have to wait for a second, because I still have not shaved, and I don't want to look homeless while I'm streaming live, which I certainly look homeless right now, I promise you. But I'm quick. I'm fast, so I'll be right back. Haha, almost done. Now I just need a shirt and some water. Be right back. Almost ready. No chips and salsa today. Just the Macallan, in case someone makes me drink. I don't remember did a new poll got started, right? For a drinking word or drinking words? I don't know what one. What's this current drink word? I don't know. Okay, let's see. We'll full screen this. And I suppose, let's see here. Maybe monitor Facebook through this tab. I think. Is it showing? Oh no! Crap! Ah. sorry guys. I have to put in the fucking God damn it. I always forget that Facebook makes you do a new address every single time you stream live. Urgh. And I can't just insert it back. I have to give people the link to the YouTube. Oh my goodness. Here it is. Oh no. No. Shut up. Okay. So, I guess I'm going to post this. Sorry, guys. Only YouTube and Twitch for now. So dumb. I'm terrible. I am so bad at this technology shit. All right. So we got the Lit RPG Society one. Here we go. Post them there. And yeah, if there's anyone else that can please post that YouTube link on any of the other shared things out there. I can't even talk today. I would appreciate it. So anyway, on to the show. Maybe I should sit down like I usually do. Okay. Drop the mic a little. We're good. So, today we are doing... well, first, let's do... what looked to me the most interesting... What the hell's going on here? Oh, okay. What I found most interesting looking was The Conduit by Erik Anderson. I'm pretty sure this came out 2 weeks ago, something like that. So that's going to be the first request that we do. Then we're moving on to the Savant lands, which I think has been around for a while. I remember seeing a review of it on the Lit RPG podcast, but I don't remember exactly what Ramon said about it. And then we're moving on to my choice from the requests, which was The Dragon's Trail. And I don't think this one's Lit RPG, because this came out in 2011, I believe. And I'm not sure who requested it. Maybe it was Danny's idea to do it. So sitting down, that means 3-finger drinks, right? Yeah, why not? Why the fuck not? 3-fingered drinks. Let me close Facebook here, since obviously no one's going to be watching it from there. And let's see, if anyone can tell me what the drinking word is, I promise to drink on those words. So, let's get started. The Conduit by Erik Anderson. Now, I'm not sure, I can't remember if this was his first book. I think I remember looking it up, and I think this was his first book. Don't remember what the ratings were, but let's see. We got Alex, a very well-controlled, almost bland character. He's a battle mage, wearing heavy armor, holding a staff in one hand and a book in the other. Alicia, excitable and sarcastic, as well as intelligent and carefree. She's a rogue, dual-wielding daggers and wearing leather armor. As for accents, both are presumably American, Midwest, but it's really up to the reader. Okay, so this is first person. I get to be Alex. Alright, well-controlled, almost bland. I'll go with this one. The Jason the Jason from Delver's voice. He can sound pretty bland. Or Elron. I like to call him Elron, too. He's, who's a character from the A Witch's Path series that I narrated as a bit. Okay, so The Conduit by Erik Anderson. I'm just going to leave this open. Is that okay? I don't think you guys mind. I turned to Alicia. Shouldn't there be a town or something? She shrugged in reply.
How should I know?
Suddenly, something caught her attention, and I lost sight of her. A second later, I heard a piteous shriek and saw Alicia proudly holding a dead rabbit, which was still dripping blood from a dagger wound.
Lunch!
I smiled at her encouragingly and took in our surroundings. We had exited the portal into a lush green meadow at the edge of a pine forest. A slight breeze ruffled my hair, bringing with it the coppery scent of the freshly killed rabbit's blood mingled with pine. I noticed that a bar on my interface had filled up ever so slightly with the slaying of the sinister bunny. I tried to bring up my attributes, but received a system message instead. The attribute panel will unlock at level 10. I was a little disappointed, though I assumed the developers had a reason. Maybe they wanted players to get a feel for their skills and abilities before deciding where to allocate their points. I let it be for now, turning to Alicia. Do you want to set up camp here for a bit? Maybe I should figure out how my spells work in case we find something bigger than a rabbit.
Good idea.
Ooh.
Good idea.
She beamed.
I'll try to find some materials for a basic shelter and a campfire. Maybe set up a rudimentary crafting station. We should make some more water skins in case we have trouble finding a water source nearby.
I nodded at her, having trouble hiding how surprised I was at her foresight and intelligence. I had assumed that the first AIs would be, well, less intelligent than I was, but she seemed to be a step ahead of me. Alicia skipped into the forest while I sat down and opened my spellbook. The symbols on the first page resolved into a basic description of spells. Spells consist of at least 2 words, a shape word and an energy word. Each word has both a verbal component and a physical gesturing component. The more accurately, The Mongoose is the free ebook giveaway voiced by you. I don't know what that means. The Mongoose, how about this? I'll answer your question with something that I do know. I give away audiobooks on my show. So, if you request a free audiobook, let's see, today what I'll be giving out, anything from the Delvers LLC series, Life Reset, or Everybody Loves Large Chests Morningwood. Those are the 3 I'm giving out today. So if you want one of those 3, say something in the chat. Tell me which one you want in the chat, and I will take down your info, and I'll find you, and I'll give you a free audiobook. I'm giving them out 5 today. So if you want one, let me know which one you want. Okay. Spells consist of at least 2 words, a shape word and an energy word. Each word has both a verbal component and a physical gesturing component. The more accurately each component matches the intended word, the stronger the resulting spell. More complex spells may include multiple words, but those spells have more points at which point they may fail. They will take longer to cast, and they will drain your mana more quickly. Okay, that made sense. I knew 2 shape words, shield and bolt, and 1 energy word, force. I first turned to the page for force and let out a little laugh. Whoever designed spellcasting wanted to make the first few spells easy because the verbal component for force was new to us, and the gesture was pushing forward. and the gesture was pushing forward, then pulling back with the staff. The word for shield was protect us, and the gesture was drawing a circle in the air clockwise, then counterclockwise. Bolt was rocketos, and the gesture was similar to that of force. Bolt is cast by pulling back, then thrusting forward. After mumbling to myself and practicing the gestures, I was ready to try them out. What's up, Buddha Cat? How's it going? Thanks for coming and hanging out. I hope you're inviting more people to the show. No one has requested an audiobook yet. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. If you want an audiobook, make sure to request either Delvers LLC, Life Reset, or Morningwood, Everybody Loves Large Chests. Thank you, Truffle. Truffle, if you could please keep track of these people for me, I would really appreciate it. Those people that request audiobooks, specific ones. Okay. I learned that the order... Jeff Hees? Yes, sir, that's me, except with different spelling. I learned that the order wasn't important. I could say force shield, or shield force, or force bolt, or bolt force, and get the same result. I decided to make it a habit to say the energy word first, in case I needed to change my mind mid-cast. That way I could change an offensive action to a defensive one on the fly, or vice versa. I also noticed that each cast drained a blue bar, which would then slowly regenerate, which must be my mana. In addition to the mana drain, I also noticed that the colors slowly faded out of everything around me. with each cast. Worryingly, casting while wearing my heavy armor substantially drained a green bar, which must be my endurance, and the more it drained, the wearier I felt, and the harder it was to move. That's why they warned me during class selection, I suppose. A cacophony of snapping twigs derailed my train of thought as Alicia practically flew out of the forest. My eyes followed her, but I looked back towards the woods in time to see a lumbering behemoth composed of fur and claws barrel out after her. Immediately recognizing the danger, I scrambled to my feet. "Newtonus protectus!" I shouted, gesturing towards Alicia. As the temporary barrier sprang up around her, she turned and stood her ground, her daggers flashing out in front of her, searching for her opponent's flesh. I was already starting to cast Force Bolt, hoping the shield would hold long enough for us to take down the massive bear. Newtonus Rocketos! Newtonus Rocketos! The bolt rocketed out of my staff, exploding into the bear's back and releasing a gout of blood. Its last swipe had shattered Alicia's force shield, but it was no matter because the bear had turned and was now barreling towards me. I saw that it was a level 5 black bear, a very difficult opponent, even though that... Where'd it go? The text is so small with these documents. I have to figure out a better way to get these documents read. I was using my iPad last time, but it's up here. The mount is up. I can't use... Yeah, I can. I can just bring it down here. I'm going to do that. So much easier. Buddha Cat requests Delvers LLC or Morningwood. Nice. One or the other. Buddha Cat don't care. Buddha Cat don't give a fuck. No, a shit. Buddha Cat don't give a shit. There you go. Sorry, guys. Just switching my reading tablet because this thing is tiny. It's fucking... The problem is, this iPad is really heavy. It's like drooping. It'll be fine. Oh, favorite what? I can't read that. Hey J4, what's up? Sorry, I'm trying to monitor both the YouTube and the Twitch chats. I normally don't use the iPad. I normally use my Kindle, but the PDF reader on my Kindle is so atrocious that it's just difficult to read. So I switched to the iPad just for PDFs and docs, just for this show. Favorite characters doing audio lab. Okay. Oh man, Honey Badger don't give a shit, dude. That's one of my favorite YouTube videos. When he put that on there, I got so excited. I wish that I could have like done, I don't know. Honey Badger don't give a shit on YouTube, and it took me an embarrassing long time to realize. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's kind of my... Oh, you're J4. What's up, J4? It's kind of my bad. Sort of. Maybe because I only put the YouTube link in the comments in Facebook and not the Twitch link, but yeah, Twitch it just looks a little bit better and it's easier to deal with, so that's why I use Twitch instead of YouTube for the chat. But it seems like people prefer YouTube, so I'm gonna switch over to that sometime soon. Hiccup is favorite character. Hiccup's one of my favorites too. I can't wait. Harmon he wrote that one. He's writing a short story, like a 15,000 word short story, all Hiccup. So I'm thinking about doing that one exclusively on Sound Booth Theater Live. Just have like a 2 or 3 hour stream of me just drinking and being Hiccup. I hope he writes it in first person so we can do that. But I hope it's not too long either. He was talking about maybe 20,000 words, and that's too long for this stream. But if it was like 10 to 15,000, that would be perfect. And I'd be wasted by the end of it. Speaking of drinking. All Hiccup, all Sound Booth. Cheers, y'all. I don't think I ran into our magic word. Does anyone else know what the newest poll, the newest drinking poll, determined my secret word to be? My drinking word? I'm gonna look it up myself. Sword. Sword is the word this time. All right. Sorry, that was... How many fingers did I do? That's just one finger. Really? I mean, three... I mean, it's too expensive for me to do three. For me to do 3 fingers. Especially since, like, I have to work after this, too. Okay. Where was I? I'm going to just start at, I'm just going to restart this paragraph since I changed all this shit. A cacophony of snapping twigs derailed my train of thought as Alicia practically flew out of the forest. My eyes followed her, but I looked back towards the woods in time to see a lumbering behemoth composed of fur and claws barrel out after her. Immediately recognizing the danger, I scrambled to my feet. "Newtonus, protect us!" I shouted, gesturing towards Alicia. As the temporary barrier sprang up around her, she turned and stood her ground, her daggers flashing out in front of her, searching for her opponent's flesh. I was already starting to cast Force Bolt, hoping the shield would hold long enough for us to take down the massive bear. Newtonus Rocketos! The bolt rocketed out of my staff, exploding into the bear's back and releasing a gout of blood. Its last swipe had shattered Alicia's force shield, but it was no matter because the bear had turned and was now barreling towards me. I saw that it was a level 5 black bear, a very difficult opponent even though there were 2 of us. I barely finished uttering, "Newtonus, protect us!" and gesturing in a circle before the bear started biting and clawing at me, but the shield appeared just in time. The sound of claws scraping against the invisible barrier roiled my guts, but it held firm. Alas, I was spent and dropped to my knees in exhaustion, almost colorblind due to my lack of mana. Oh, that's right, he's saying the color fades from the world when he uses too much mana. That's interesting. Oh, nice. 2 requests. Thank you guys for requesting free audiobooks. I like giving you guys stuff. It's fun. Bring more people so I can give them stuff. Fortunately, Alicia managed to sneak up behind the bear, sinking both of her daggers into its kidneys. The combat log showed that she dealt bonus damage from flanking as well as the backstab. Taking so much damage in such a short amount of time stunned the bear temporarily. All I could manage was one hefty swing of my staff to the side of its head, causing a loud crack. With a piteous roar, the bear fell to the ground in a heap. Wow, that was close. Where did you find that thing? I asked after catching my breath. The barest hint of slivers remained of my mana and endurance bars, and I saw that Alicia was panting with exertion. She looked down at the ground sheepishly.
Well, I kind of figured we could take it, so I lured it out here.
Not quite. Let me try that again. Something kind of scary is happening to my voice lately. I'm not sure this is a problem that a lot of audiobook narrators or voice actors have that are male. But it's getting harder and harder for me to do the super high voices. Like, I'm getting older, so my voice box is changing just a little bit, and getting that high register is getting harder and harder to do for me.
But I still try. Well, I kind of figured we could take it, so I lured it out here.
See, that was a little bit better. I just have to, like, go back and re-prepare it. I can't just switch like that anymore. Isn't that called puberty? Yeah, it's, you know, the thing is, I was on hormone blockers for the first 25 years of my life, and now that I'm allowing my body to naturally go through puberty, it's ruining my career. So... I was speechless. We nearly died. I thought for sure it was an accident. We could have set traps or something. Oh well, all's well that ends well, I suppose. I rolled my eyes and said, "You're insane. Did you at least get the supplies to set up camp?"
Oh, yeah, I found all that stuff ages ago. I just thought we might as well have some fun. I was starting to get bored.
After that revelation, she set to work skinning the bear with her daggers, while humming a happy tune, mind you. On a more positive note, we both had advanced to level 2. I didn't learn any new words, but I checked my spellbook and saw that I was gaining proficiency in 3 words I already knew. In addition, my energy, health, and endurance all increased. Alicia had removed the supplies from her pack and stacked them nearby, so I started to set up the camp. After a short time, we had a campfire with a cooking spit, a rudimentary shelter, and a rack to dry the skins. There was so much bear meat that we decided to cut most of it into strips to dry over the fire and make into jerky. The game did a passable job of simulating hunger and eating. I could feel the emptiness in my stomach, and it was enough to bring the bear jerky to my mouth and pretend to eat to alleviate the cramps. I even began to feel full, and after a while, pretending to eat and after a while, pretending to eat seemed enough like the real thing that I barely noticed a difference. After having dinner, we laid out our bedrolls in the shelter and slept. Or perhaps Alicia slept. After 20 seconds with my eyes closed, I exited the VRE and found myself back in my apartment. All right. So yeah, that was the Conduit. That was a relatively short request, but I think it gave us a pretty good idea of at least the writing style. I'm actually surprised at how good the writing was for this. What are you guys talking about here? Maybe you should see a voice coach and they can train you to do it without doing permanent damage. 2 years and I'm looking forward to Lumberjack Jeff. LOL, I'm sorry, I have to stop it or you would get way too un-PC. Yes, I would have. This book seems decent. It does. Are you worried about voice synthesis losing all the voice acting jobs? No. Taking all the voice acting jobs. No, I am not. I think there's a good reason for a lot of voice actors to be worried about that. But I've based my entire skill set around versatility. So really, not only versatility, but authenticity when it comes to actual character acting within the audiobooks. So for a lot of narrators, the way that they narrate audiobooks is they've created this groove for themselves. They have this strength, right? They have a voice, and their voice has certain characteristics, and they exploit those characteristics, those strengths, focus on them, and then they come up with a sort of formula for reading. So they have like a lot of the same cadences and stuff that just that they can rely on, that they can fall back on, that they can kind of autopilot while they're reading so that they can get jobs done fast, right? Get jobs done fast, well, get it done well enough, move on to the next job. Because they don't get paid, they get paid per finished hour, right? So as long as they're doing a good job, they can keep doing it. But the more formulaic they are, the more distinct and predictable their cadence is, the more susceptible they will be to those voice mimicking programs. Whereas the way I do things, I try to conform as much to the text as I possibly can and come up with new voices for characters. And not necessarily new voices. I mean, I have a stack. I have like a whole troupe of actors in my head who I pull from when I come up to a character and I'm like, okay, who do I cast as this character? So I have so many voices, and I think that my delivery is dynamic enough to where it's going to take a long time before even the voice copying software that they have can actually mimic the way I narrate convincingly, right? Because there's just so much range in what I'm doing that I don't know, maybe it will. Maybe I'll be fucked when that thing comes out, because it can even predict what kind of voices I'll use for this character or that character. But I have a feeling it's not going to be a problem for me. Unfortunately, that may not be the case for other narrators. Unfortunately for them, but in a way that's okay. I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna stop right there and let you guys figure out what I'm trying to say there. Okay, so thank you, Eric Anderson, for requesting the Conduit. It sounded pretty decent. Like the I was pretty surprised at how well written it was. So I hope you do well, and I hope you keep writing. Truffle Guy, you do such an amazing job, and I can't stand the MC from the Skull Throne because he's such a douchebag, and you make him sound exactly as I imagined in reading it, as well as bringing out his character so much it's hard to listen. Because it's so spot on. Well, you know, I mean, I kind of disagree with you. I kind of like his character. But I guess that's a testament to what I'm doing. I try to be authentic. You know, I try to sound like the characters. So I'm glad you don't like it. I don't know what else to say to that. All right. Okay, so the Conduit is done. Next is The Savant Lands by Lucas Dunn. Let me find it. Pangea, Beginner's Look, Wraith's Hunt, Greystone Chronicles. It's going to take me a second, guys. Sorry. Quest into Hidden Realms, Forest Guy's Rebirth. Here it is. The Savant Lands. The Lost Class by Lucas Dunn. The Mongoose is saying audiobooks, stories at least, need a human. They shouldn't just be read, they should be acted like you are doing. I agree. But at the same time, you know, the way that this industry developed, they just didn't have the profit margins necessary to pay actors. I mean, when they first started out, and even now, I mean, the way that the amount of overhead the bigger companies have, they just don't have the budget to pay an actor to go into detail like I do. The reason I'm able to do it is because profit margins have shifted. Because I'm a producer now with a team of three other people besides me, and one of those people is a marketing person. So I mean, like, we don't need so many resources to actually get it done, right? And my incentive is to make the audiobook as good as possible because I'm getting royalties, right? I'm not going from job to job and just worrying about doing good enough because the profit margins for me are crazy good. But that's only because of, the fact that the indie production part of the market has developed, right? I think it was 2012 or 2011 when ACX came out. So it hasn't been very long. But now, and it's not like I came from a massive, like, movie star background, right? I'm just some dickhead who found out about ACX and didn't want a real job, so I just started doing voice acting. And I just put everything I could into it, right? And I just kept getting better and better and kept practicing. And this has been, like, actually producing audiobooks has been my school. Like, if you go and look at my audiobook list, if you go to Audible, you search my name, you click on my name as narrator, and then you change the search results or the criteria to release date. Then you go listen to my earliest audiobooks. I fucking sucked. I was terrible. So, and I was still pretty much behaving like a professional, right? Pretty much. I mean, the thing is, most of the jobs that I would take on were royalty share jobs that weren't gonna make me any money, right? But it was still able to be published. And really, I think there's a lot of books on Audible that have my name on it that I wish I could take off because I was just so bad. But the more I worked, the better I got, the more I learned from myself, the more I listened to myself and did all the production myself, the more I was able to be honest about my own performance and improve as much as I possibly could. So it's weird, but the way I'm doing things is just the way the market is now is what allows someone like me to exist. The indie nature, the ability for me to invest a relatively small amount of money to actually make a production more than what audiobooks are expected to be. So, what are you guys saying? You talking some more? Old Man Frostbeard just requested some shit. That's cool. Like, Frostbeard, whisper your email. Okay. I know you may answer the question often, but do you have any tips for aspiring voice actors and narrators? Oh, 4 of 5 books taken. 1 left. Awesome. What kind of advice? Man. I think my number 1 advice, don't do it. Find something else. It's really hard. It's a really hard job. You have to fucking love it. It's like music. It's like any other art. Just, if you want to do it, don't expect to get paid well. Ever. And work as hard as you can to get paid well, right? It's like, I had to go through a lot of not getting paid to get where I am. So, drink good shit, not bad stuff. That's another good advice. But, so just my first bit of advice, just be prepared to suffer. Second bit of advice would be to at least try to be smart about your marketability, about your skills. The prevailing wisdom with voice acting is find your strength and stick to that. That kind of works. Like that's gonna be your best chance at actually making money in the first place, right? And then that's if you have the right voice, if you're lucky, basically, that your particular way of doing things is what brings in the money, then you'll get big, right? So, you have to have a certain level of professionalism to make sure that you're prepared to do what you need to do whenever an opportunity comes around for you to audition. If you're just concentrating on your strength. But other than that, you're kind of just rolling the dice the entire time. My opinion, the way I see practically any kind of career and building skills for a career, and in my opinion, for this in particular, voice acting, is to be as versatile as possible, so that it doesn't matter what the job is, you can pretty much do it. So let's say that you have a particular strength, right? Let's say that your voice does have a particular property or characteristic that gets you jobs in the first place. Once you get those jobs with your strength, then you can create a relationship with whoever you're working with, producers-wise, and then you can start selling your versatility to them so that they're not constantly shopping for other voice actors. So whatever, I mean, like if it's got, if audiobooks, for instance, is the path you want to go down. First of all, that's the worst path to go down because it takes the most skill, the most work, and pays the least out of any of the particular voice acting careers. Like, you have to be a total hustler like me to actually make it anywhere, at least in the indie world, or you have to have good relationships with the big producers, right? And so audiobooks is the toughest road. However, it is the road that will help you increase your actual technical skill faster than any other voice acting gig, because you are playing every character and telling the story. So you can either stick to your strength and do that, or you can do like I did and just try your best to be every person in the production. And that is what helps you build versatility. So you could do audiobooks, you could do what is probably the highest pay for lowest amount of work, which would be advertising, right? But that my suggestion would be to go get coaching for that shit, because That is specific. I recently went to Dallas, Texas, and studied with this lady named Elaine Clark, who's been in the business, like she's a voice actress who's been in the business since like, I think it's the 70s. So legit, like just absolutely 100% accurate with every read that she did. And she taught us how to use our hands to get better inflection, to get more accurate inflection, to really add weight to what we're doing. And there's a very specific way of speaking that people need, that advertising agencies want for the read, okay? And it's rough. It's a highly competitive part of the business. So I'd say you just have to take lessons for whatever realm of VO that you want to go through. But like I said, this is art. Don't expect to make money. You could practice for 5 years and try and struggle and never get anywhere. It's just the reality of art business, you know? And there's a good reason for that. If it was easy to make money as an artist, no one would make important things. No, art is something that you do because you love it. And if you can get paid for it, then that means you're like really, really good at it. Okay? And it also means that you put yourself through hell to get to that point. Okay? Whereas, you know, real jobs, right? Like manufacturing, like, being a cop or a firefighter or having a restaurant, you know, actually feeding, clothing, and giving people shelter. Those are things that people don't really want to do, and that's why there's good money in it. So that's why you can get an entry-level job and still be okay in those industries. Because it's stuff that no one really wants to do, but it has to be done. With art, it's the exact opposite way. Everyone wants to do it. Everyone wishes that they were doing something that they love as a profession. So the competition is insane. So that's it. That's all I'm going to give for now. Back to the Savant lands. Sorry about all that rambling, guys. I'm going to go ahead and close this up because the echo is kind of bothering me. It probably has no bearing on what you guys are. You're probably not even listening through headphones. You're probably just listening through speakers, and you won't hear the reverb from that anyway. But it's just distracting for me because I'm a snob. All right, The Savant Lands by Lucas Dunn. Here's our character descriptions here. Grim, rogue-like character with small build and very mischievous. Okay. Jake, barbaric in his mannerisms, build, and brain. Cool. Main character, Lucian, a warrior mage. Hey, that was the last character. A warrior mage build that has an efficiency-built mindset. Okay. Relationship between group. Main character and Jake are longtime friends that couldn't be closer. Grim is a friend Jake picked up after becoming close. Lucian first met Grim after he tried sneakily following the two in a prank orchestrated by both Grim and Jake. Lucian caught on and threatened Grim with a fireball in the end. As time has passed, they have become much closer, even though Lucian acts like Grim is constantly annoying. Okay. Prelude to current scene. Jake and Grim experienced the Slime King at an earlier date, causing them to harbor extreme grudges. Alright. Okay, another first person, and I guess I'm Lucian. I'll just use my natural voice. It feels okay for this. The slime boss in front of me was big, but not nearly as big as I had thought it would be. Roughly an 8 by 8 feet cube of sticky goo. The floor was coated with the same gooey substance, reducing my dexterity by 15%. Disappointed, I surrounded Jake and Grim in a 1-point mana shield and released Soul Steel while blasting the level 10 slime with lightning. Each strike of lightning caused it to swell in size, relieving me of my previous disappointment at the comical sight. Jake burst out laughing, almost rolling on the ground in tears as he found some psychological relief from his last horrifying engagement with the slime. I couldn't help but chuckle at its bloated state and Grimm's mocking words, comparing him to a marshmallow. Suddenly, the slime started to glow a stunning silver color as it released a skill that I assumed was Earthquake. Its now massive body jumped into the air and seemingly teleported to the ground. Bracing myself, the ground shook with a force that was completely out of my expectations. Time seemed to come to a crawl as a series of unfortunate events unfolded. Grimm and I stumbled towards each other for support, but ended up smacking our heads into each other with a loud thwack. Jack, who was already off balance from laughing, tried to stay on his feet, but alas, it was hopeless with his lack of dexterity. His clumsy body wavered, and his arms windmilled as he desperately searched for something to support his barbaric frame. His hands clenched on Grimm's torso behind him, finding relief for only a second, before Grimm's tiny rogue frame gave way. Once again, arms started to windmill, searching for the closest source of support. Me. Grimm let out a high-pitched squeak as he grabbed my shoulders, making eye contact with me. The look in his eyes seared itself into my mind due to the depth of emotions transferred between us in that millisecond. His eyes conveyed the deepest sense of hopelessness, seeming to cut into my soul like an abused puppy and a sad song. I refuted his gaze with my own, sending a look that promised a cruel death if he dragged me into this. His gaze transformed into that of a crazed animal backed into the corner with only one option: fight. Realizing my downfall was predestined, I felt a cold chill up my spine. Jack still clutched Grimm, and Grimm was already locked onto me with fingers comparable to steel clamps. I felt the weight of a mountain drag me down as I tried twisting away, only causing me to hit the floor face first. Another feeling swept across my body, a cold, gooey feeling that seeped into my skin. I released a pitiful moan that conveyed my misery of falling face first into the gooey floor. Finally, time seemed to revert to its original speed. Twisting my head around so I could faintly see out of the corner of my eye, I saw Grimm was on top of me. Pity settled deep into his eyes, and Jake's outline resting awkwardly on top of Grimm's. Realizing I had been used as a human shield since my 1 mana point protection surrounding us had disappeared, I let out a roar of anger. Jake's face popped over Grimm's shoulder with an apologetic countenance that was clearly only surface deep, as his eyes emitted a strong sense of relief since he wasn't on bottom. A miasma of anger encompassed my thoughts as mana started to flow through my body, preparing to destroy these betrayers upon release. But once again, time slowed. Smashed under both betrayers, I saw a shadow creeping across the ground surrounding us. Death, regret, and hopelessness resonated with my very soul as I glanced up to see the mammoth slime slowly descending upon us like the heavens themselves were collapsing. We realized our predicament collectively. Jake and Grimm suddenly started to scramble off me and out of the way, but I was helpless to move under their weight and would have no time to escape. As Jake and Grimm tried to move, they saw my flaming gaze switch to one mirroring Grimm's previous wild expression. There's like no dialogue. An Avenger entered my consciousness at that moment. Its presence steeled my mind, and the word revenge occupied every inch of my thoughts. This Avenger dared to steal the title of judge, jury, and executioner from the gods themselves. The cells of my very being became that Avenger. And instantly judged the betrayers and sentenced them to the most fitting punishment in my power. All that was left was the execution. With the mana I had already began commanding, I decided to forego the previous decision of a quick death and released a single spell. Shockwave. Immediately, Jake and Grimm were paralyzed as lightning coursed through the air and into their bodies that had already started to lift off me. Time returned, and the pressure weighing down on me suddenly increased as Jake and Grim crashed back onto me. My face was shoved back into the gooey floor, this time causing a thick, vile substance to enter my mouth despite my feeble attempts to resist. I opened my mouth to spit out the goo, but the weight suddenly increased 100-fold, causing more goo to enter my fully open mouth, forcing me to swallow the vile substance. With the added weight, I sunk almost 3 feet into the floor. A massive boom echoed above us, and I felt my backside slowly become covered in goo, despite my attempt to use the betrayer's tactic against them. It was a while before any of us moved. I felt myself being pulled out of the gooey hole like an old cartoon where a character gets smushed into a flat 2D character. I was formless and emotionless, like my mind had shut off all external and internal input to my brain. That was clumsy. I was formless and emotionless, like my mind had shut off all external and internal input to my brain. Shock. That word floated lazily into my mind, making me burst out into a crazy, high-pitched laugh. I was in shock from the goddamn Neanderthal actions that had just transpired in this low-class boss room. And that's it. That's the sample. So, yeah, thank you, Lucas Dunn, for requesting the Savant Lands, the Lost Class. The one thing I'll say about this one is I think it needs some editing. Sorry, man, but, there's a little, I mean, it's not so much typos as it is rhythm. I was like, I mean, yeah, the scene was intense and it was evocative. So that's good. Like, you have good descriptions and stuff, and I think you're pretty good at writing action, but the sentences are fucking huge. They're huge, and there's not enough commas, and there's not enough periods. It's just the punctuation, man. It's just it doesn't flow well. It's just the sentences run on. So that's something that you probably need to work on before you keep writing. But otherwise, it sounded interesting. I wish there had been some dialogue in it. All right. So, that was the Savant Lands. Thank you, Lucas Dunn, again. And lastly, we'll go with Dragon's Trail. All right. And I'm starting to realize that this might have been a mistake to choose, because it looks like I never got a doc from Danny or from the author about this. Uh-oh, I might have to buy the book. Which is fine. I don't mind supporting authors. That's what's going to happen. Icons, yes, you can get the new Delver's book. By the way, sorry. Truffle was... He might be asleep. I don't pay Truffle, so he's not really obligated. And did I ever say sword in that read? I forgot. I'm gonna drink just in case. Just to cover all my bases. By the way, guys, the Forgotten by M.R. Forbes just came out fucking today. Go buy it. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. It's another space opera, but it looks like it's horror. Like, there was one picture that I saw of some concept art that he had, and it looked kind of like a cross between, like, a scarecrow and a Big Daddy from BioShock. It's fucking creepy looking. I can't wait to read it. I don't even know if he's gonna hire me for the audio. I still have to talk to him about that. But it doesn't matter. I'm gonna read it. M.R. Forbes is so good. I don't know if you guys know that. I know most of you guys are like lit RPG people, so you may not have read his stuff, but I highly recommend anything he's written. Okay. So, yeah, I gotta go to the store. I gotta pick up Dragon's Trail. I don't know how to type. $4. Oh, well. It's downloading. Read now. Okay. So, I don't know shit about this book. I don't have any character direction. I don't know what's going on with it. I just know it was one of the requests, and it looked interesting, and it wasn't lit RPG, which, you know, I know I specialize in lit RPG right now, but I like trying other things, okay? God. But anyway, it's obviously fantasy, right? Dragon's Trail. Which, you know, that's also my specialty. What do I do here? Okay, I'm going to read... the prologue. Just introduce you to this world. And I'm going to treat it like it's fucking Lord of the Rings. I'm going to narrate as Sir Patrick Stewart. And I'm drinking because I see a sword on the screen, which is the cover. So I'm just going to go ahead and count that. I grew up with sci-fi books, only started lit RPG recently. How are you liking lit RPG, by the way? The Mongoose. Truffle Guy says, space operas and fantasy are always good. Lit RPG is just the new bandwagon. I agree. I mean, lit RPG is a bandwagon right now, right? But I think that it's going to establish itself eventually and, like, just be, you know, it'll be like, I think it was Soilo that was comparing it to steampunk, where, you know, people weren't taking steampunk seriously for a long time, and now it's just here to stay. It's just like, I don't know, I feel like maybe, and I've just been discovering that this year, but it feels like steampunk has kind of combined with eldritch horror, and now it's like you're going to expect both elements in any steampunk. I don't know if that's just because I did Secret of the Old Ones for Blaze, and then I started seeing a lot of the other steampunk stuff kind of alluding to H.P. Lovecraft stuff too, and I was just kind of confirmation bias for myself, but it's weird. A character should have a Northern Irish accent just for the heck of it. Okay. Be right back. Gonna join the Facebook group finally. Yay, thank you, icons. Ready Player One. Movie might establish RPG. I agree, it might. Or it might suck and set us back. Who knows, we'll see. Blaze needs to hurry with the next book in The Secret of the Old Ones. I really liked The Secret of the Old Ones, so I'm anxious to see that come out too. Okay, back to Patrick Stewart. Reading Dragon's Trail by Joseph Malik. Oh, sorry. The Mongoose says, been liking what I've read so far, read all the current Awake Online and have swapped to a sci-fi book, mostly reading on Kindle so I can read at work, but also reading a hard copy of a fantasy novel. Cool. Okay. Sir Patrick Stewart. Prelude. Ugh. I don't know if I can do his voice right now. Right now, that's not proper. Prelude. The history of the sword is the history of humanity. Sir Richard F. Burton, 1884. Yes! First sentence! I got a drink. Macallan's really nice. In eastern Gateskeep, bordering the principality of Falcon's realm, the Tower of Horlick stands against all seeming odds, sagging and nearly fallen. From the top floors, the rift-strewn wildwoods and misty cliffs of Falcon's realm stretch out of sight in three directions. Known to locals as Edwin's Folly, the Tower of Horlick slouches to the northeast atop a knob of rock and scrub, looking for all the world like a helm's crest bent by a debilitating blow. Year after year, Edwin's Folly stands. Year after year, the townsfolk of Horlick wager that it won't. On the first day of summer, the town holds its Tower Day celebration, in which the previous year's losers pay their good-natured debts and wages begin anew. Inside the sagging walls of Horlick, on the eve of Tower Day a few years ago, a young sorcerer named Creus Lotovogus advised the War Council of Gateskeep. I'm not maintaining the voice very well. It may be the whiskey. But I'm doing what I can. Okay, guys, stop judging me, please. A spindly shamble of a man, Creus Lotovogus's tangles of hair and tight dark beard made his age indeterminate, but it was widely held that he was the youngest to ever hold the office of Lord High Sorcerer of Gateskeep. He stood at the head of the great stone table in comfortable, if drab, attire, a long leather jerkin, a pair of silver necklaces, unremarkable trousers, and well-worn boots burnished with deliberation and care. Okay. Tangles of hair, tight dark beard, indeterminate age, youngest to ever hold the office of Lord High Sorcerer. Okay. War? Crius asked. Did I call him Creus or Crius? I'm going to say Crius. Crius asked. And I'm only now hearing of this? Glances and convictions collided in the silence. Okay. This guy's gonna be a little bit gruffer. A war is coming. Ravaroth Anganor, informally called Lord Rav, sat on Crius's right, rocking back in his chair. He wore his dark beard and fine braids in the manner of men of the wild river reach, and his clothes were rich with spring colours inlaid with silver across his prominent chest, which sported a general's brooch. "Coming," Crius stressed. "War is always coming, but that's no reason to provoke one." "The bloodline of the wizard Sabagian," said Lord Rav. "Banished all these years, now walks the halls." You know what I'm going to do? You asked for Northern Irish, so I'm going to do that with Lord Rav. "The bloodline of the wizards..." Nope. I want to do a pirate with that voice. The bloodline of the wizards Sabagian. Banished all these years. All these years. Now walks the halls of the hold of Gavria. They tap their R's in Northern Ireland, don't they? Gavria. They have put him on their war council. No, that's Scottish. Put him on their war council. Nope. It's just not going to happen this time. Sorry, I'm having trouble with the Irish for some reason. Maybe I'll do Scottish for him. "The bloodline of the wizard Sabagian," said Lord Rav. "Banished all these years,
now walks the halls of the hold of Gavria. They've put him on the war council.
I find Irish easier than Scottish, but for some reason I'm having trouble today. Duke Edwin Hillwhite, who owned the Crooked Tower, was a gangly man with a mop of black hair and a broad jaw. He addressed the others at the table. Okay. The Gavrians are buying up all our grain and trading us gold, not iron, for it. What else could they be doing with grain and iron? They're building an army. I think what it is... Okay. So, I associate certain voices with certain accents. That's one mistake that voice actors often make, and what I'm doing now. Like, if I'm not doing the gruff sound, like the gruff sound, I associate it with a Scottish accent. But if we're going with Northern Ireland, I associate that with a higher, airier sound. So, I think that's what's happening.
And you raise your prices for iron just as we have to start equipping a larger force, said Lord Rav. How convenient.
Edwin shrugged. Demand is demand, General. I don't set the prices. The mines set the prices. Oh, there are so many. There's so many Irish accents. What I want to do is just go to the UK and hang out there for like 6 fucking months and just hang out with all the Irishmen and all the Scotsmen and all the Welshmen and like really, really educate myself on these accents so I can do fucking anything. That's what I'd like to do. I love collecting accents. It's so fun. I haven't been doing it as much lately. Like, a lot of my accent collecting was like a year to 2 years ago. Yeah, that was more southern. You're right. Irish is... The problem with the Northern Irish is it's a little harder to understand. Like, it's a little more fucking weird, so... I will. I'm going to come out there and hang out in the UK. Lord Rav laughed to the others at the table, who joined him, before he turned back to Edwin.
They're your mines, boy. You're telling me you don't control them?
Not alone, said Edwin. His tone soured. And don't call me boy again. How was I doing, Cryus? Accent collector. Gaddy. That's how you would say your name, right? Gaddy. They tap their R's. I've never heard an Irishman roll an R, but I've heard tapped R's. He was English, but what was the voice like? I don't remember. I'm just going to go with something.
You would do well.
You would do well. Ah, that's right. It was more of a nasally.
You would do well to remain silent, Cryus told the Duke. In fact, I'm not quite sure why you're in this meeting.
Edwin stammered. This is my castle.
Granted to you in the hopes that you'd repair it, reminded Cryus, as you are the only man in the kingdom who can afford to. He made a show of looking into the corners and ceiling. See, I'm losing my Patrick Stewart as well. It might be the alcohol.
How's that going, anyway? Gotti. Yeah, but do you tap the R? That's my question. Edwin fumed. Do you know what's required to stanchion this place? Stanchion? What the fuck is that word? I'm looking that up. Cool, my keyboard stopped working. It just stopped. Just like, no. Alright. Gotta look it up over here. An upright bar, post, or frame forming a support or barrier. Okay. Cordon off would be a synonym for that phrase. So you're Gary? Gary? Yeah, tapping is Gary. Gary. So it's like almost a roll, but it's just the one, like, it's like a D. Yeah, it's pretty much like a D. Gary. 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 Okay. So there's that. Stanchion.
Do you know what's required to stanchion this place?
Indeed,
said Crius. I'm impressed with the knocking of your headboard. I'm impressed that the knocking of your headboard hasn't collapsed the place entirely.
That's interesting.
No need to get sore just because I'm twice the man of any of you, said Edwin, folding his arms and straightening. If that were true.
Move on to Wesley Crusher. Picard is gone. No, thank you.
If that were true, said Rav, you wouldn't need your men to enforce it.
Ugh. See, my Scottish really isn't that good either, but it's a little bit better than it was like 2 months ago.
Edwin's arms unfolded. Meaning what? This is a garrison town, said Rav. Those are soldiers' daughters your boys drag in here. Those are soldiers' daughters your boys drag in here.
See, the thing about Scottish is I don't really know exactly what needs to be rolled. I think one mistake that I make is that I roll an R at the end of a word, and that shouldn't ever happen, unless there's a vowel that follows it.
Those are soldiers' daughters, I
want to roll that R at the end of your
boys drag in here.
Here. Like, it's weird, there's, like, different types of rolls. So there's, like, an airy, like, passing roll, like, here. That's the only kind of rolled R that I think Scotsmen actually use at the ends of words. Here. But it's so hard to execute that.
Drag in here.
So there's that whole hard roll.
Drag. Those are soldiers. Those are soldiers' daughters your boys drag in here.
That sounds pretty good. Was that right?
I don't know. Edwin twitched. You have no idea. You have no idea what I go through.
2 or 3 a week, I'd imagine,
said Crius.
You'd think this tower would stand straight of its own accord.
Edwin lunged at Crius across the table. It took 3 men to hold him back. Lord Rav refilled his and Crius's goblets from a decanter of something reddish-purple and mercifully strong. Edwin, still fuming, shook the others off and sat. I should pummel you, you little bastard, he told Crius.
And I should turn you into a titmouse until this matter is concluded, Crius said. You could still flap around and tweet all you want, and perhaps we'll finally find it endearing. But I'll refrain if you will.
Is that what this is about? Edwin asked the table. The council called us here. The council called us here.
Nope. What is that? What is that accent?
The council called us here to discuss what I do in my bed with my subjects.
No, said Rav.
But don't make us...
No, said Rav.
Oh man, I am doing so much accent juggling, it's hilarious.
No, said Rav. But don't make us have to come back here to discuss it further. You will like that conversation even less than this one.
The room fell silent.
Oh my god.
The room fell silent.
Now it's just you guys watching me fumble around. I bet the story's just gone. Lord Erlak. Okay, I gotta do Lord Erlak here.
Which brings us back to the matter at hand, said another general, named Lord Erlak, whose greying beard grew in patches across an array of scars that he stroked out of habit.
We hear rumors of an insurgency brewing in Falcon's realm.
Okay, new guy. Prince Damon, dark-haired noodle of a boy in fine clothing that was mostly white. He was the prince of the distant Ice Isle. Okay.
Finally, we get to it,
said Prince Damon. Damon was a dark-haired noodle of a boy in fine clothing that was mostly white, including a white fur cape despite the sun outside.
Crusher. Yeah, it's Crusher.
He was the prince of the distant Ice Isle, though it would be ruled by a regency council for a few years yet. The Snow Prince, they were calling him.
Let's discuss this,
Damon said.
And what, Duke Edwin, did your brother find so important in Falcon's realm that neither he nor my sister could be here?
Prince Albert, began Edwin, only to be interrupted by the Snow Prince.
Albar!
How do you hiss Albar?
Albar,
Damon hissed, pointing at Edwin,
is not a prince yet. My sister rules Falcon's realm. He never will. Those are points you'd be well advised to remember.
I don't even know if I can do Crusher's voice. At least the boy Crusher. I'm trying to remember what even Will Wheaton sounds like now. I don't think I sound too much different from him. I don't think he has quite as much baritone/bass in his voice. He's more like up in this... No? I don't know. We may be pretty close in range.
We've seen attacks on our border outposts. We've seen attacks on our border outposts in the Shield Lands.
Shield Lands, Erlak continued.
Supply trains raided, a ship burned along the border river, and if you ask me, he turned to Edwin, they're getting a pass from your brother, that power-starved, quivering milksop.
My brother is the heir presumptive, Edwin shouted, rising. He'll...
Go on,
Erlak yelled. Erlak yelled. Erlak yelled.
Ugh, I'm so bad today. It might be the alcohol.
Finish that statement, I beg you. We would love to know what the Hillwights plan to do once you've finally married into royalty. Enlighten us.
Crius gestured to Edwin that the table was his. Edwin took a seat. The scarred general continued, this time more quietly.
Wait, which one? Erlak? Okay.
We know the forces at Gabria are sending liaisons to the court at High River.
High River Keep was the princess's seat at Falcon's realm.
We don't know why.
Eyes turned to Edwin for a long moment. Someone finally grunted.
I've not heard of this, said Edwin.
A knight, clean-shaven and young in contrast to the others at the table.
Excuse me.
denoted by his gold horsehead pin as being a rider in the king's personal order, summarized the council's concern.
"All this aside, Gavria is building her armies," he said. "If Sabagian is their Lord High Sorcerer, then Gavria's next campaign may well be engineered by a foreign mastermind. We will have no references to this man's strategies, and no parallels to his experiences. We will need advisors, not heroes, not warriors, chancellors, for the duration of the war. If there is a war."
Crius took a moment to pinch off the bridge of his nose between thumb and forefinger. "What you're asking, sire?" His reasoning felt as unsure as the skewed walls around him. "Is to bring you demons. Demons to whom you will hand over your power and trust to lead your armies against another." Another young knight, still in his mail and leather riding gear, stood and slammed his fist on the marble inlay.
"We said nothing of demons!"
Later, Gary.
Crius looked to the ceiling. "Careful, or you'll bring this place down." After a moment, watching the timbers and listening for creaks, he let out his breath. "Sabagian's son, this King Ulo Sabagian, was raised in the demon world, brought here as a demon, conjured as any demon. That he is human is of little consequence. He is a demon, and he is not to be trifled with."
You're scared of him?"
asked Lord Rav. Crius nodded. "As you all should be."
"What we want is what they have,"
said Lord Erlach, stroking his scars absently.
"Only more of it."
"Master Crius,"
Prince Damon's voice was gentle.
"Yes, this is what we're asking. I understand the dangers inherent in this course."
"Respectfully, Highness, I don't think you do," said Crius.
"I do,"
insisted Damon.
"The true danger is the fears these men, these demons, would arouse. We will not speak of this outside this room. We'll treat them as we would any other advisor."
"The true danger is far greater than people's fears, Highness," said Crius. Damon blinked once, and, in a voice that belied his age, said,
"Perhaps. But that's why we're entrusting the Lord High Sorcerer with this."
Crius looked to Edwin, who grinned.
"Oh, if I could but slam the door behind you,"
said Edwin. Crius's gaze roved the eyes of the others. None shied from him. "You'd already decided this. You had decided this before we even called this meeting."
"No one else?"
No one else can do this,"
said Damon.
"If it's to be done, you'll do it."
Crius smiled, looking down at his hands, and nodded, tight-lipped. "Very well, Highness," he said. "I will travel, and I will bring you demons." All agreed, and the council broke with murmurs of conversation and the bangs and scrapes of benches. Prince Damon wove his way over to Crius, shaking hands and clapping shoulders. Damon kept his voice low as he spoke to Crius away from the others.
"What's this danger that we don't see?"
"The killing blow is so often the one that looks harmless," said Crius. "You won't know what the danger is, and neither will I, until it has us by the throat. This will not solve your problem with Sabagian or with Gavria. This will complicate it."
"This will level the field,"
said Damon. "It won't," said Crius.
"The War Council says it will,"
said Damon. "The War Council hopes it will," said Crius. "If Gavria marches, demons won't matter. We'll need to rely on the same things we've used against them from time immemorial. Iron and blood. Swords win wars, Highness."
"Bam!" Got a drink again. No. Okay.
Damon clasped Cryas's folded hands in his own.
Sorry.
Then bring us demons with swords.
One more. Cheers. So that's Dragon's Trail by Joseph Malik. I was pretty impressed with the writing, actually. And it seems pretty funny. The characters are very rich. Aside from the fact that I was torturing myself by insisting on using UK accents. I think it was appropriate. It made sense with the subject matter. So, thank you, Danny Katz, for requesting Dragon's Trail by Joseph Malik. And yeah, that's the show for today. So, thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with me. I think Truffle will be sending me the list of people who requested audiobooks, and if not tonight, I'll get them to you tomorrow. I'll do my best to get to you tomorrow. I have some more work to do right after the stream, and now I'm a little bit drunk, so even if I wasn't doing work, maybe I don't... Oh, never mind. Anyway, it was a good show. I had fun with all three of these requests, so thanks for coming. I think Danny will be starting a new poll probably tomorrow. I want to try and get another Sound Booth Theater Live in next Sunday, and I think what I want to do is I want to get Lori Catherine Winkle to duet with me next Sunday. So I'll try. I'll do what I can. I'll contact her and see if she'll hang out with me and do an SBTL that way. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys will invite more people for next time. Keep an eye on the Facebook page, on the Facebook group. Be sure to request things if you're interested in doing that. But more importantly, vote on whatever's requested, so we know what's up. Thank you, Truffle, for being our audiobook giveaway manager for today. And I think that's all. Oh, man. Tomorrow, Annie Ellicott is going to be in town, and she's going to be staying here, and she's going to be doing the voices of Sam Raid and Deathdale and the Obelisk, and the next two Last Warrior of Unagaya books. I'm really excited about that. I really like involving other talent in the audiobooks because it's just more fun. So should we start a singing poll? Should we start a song poll? I mean, I kind of want to do that, but at the same time, it's like, okay, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to make sure that I put all the options in, and then you guys just vote. Because if you guys request things, you're going to request things that I don't know, and so I have to, like, do research and listen to it a few times, and Truffle's into it. Anybody else into it? Let's start a singing poll. And will it be the beginning or the end? I was thinking maybe I would introduce the show with the singing, but if it might be a good finale too. I don't know. Let's do a poll about that. Who knows? Maybe Truffle karaoke. That sounds like fun. All right, Truffle, why don't you post about it? Post on the Facebook group and ask people if they want to see that. Occasionally a blind song attempt. I mean, I'll try and close the show with it. Okay. We'll try it out. We'll try it out for a show. See how it works. See if anybody likes it. But yeah, thanks guys. I gotta get back to life now. So thanks so much for hanging out again. I mean, thank you everyone who ever shows up to Sound Booth Theater Live. Thank you so much. Because it's fun for me. And if it wasn't for you, I'd have no reason to do it. Did you hear that? That was my stomach grumbling. So, yeah, I guess I will see you next Sunday. If not with Lori, then it'll just be myself again. I'll go ahead and commit to next Sunday. And yeah, talk to you soon.